On the next all-new episode of Dragon Ball Daima.
Did someone turn the whole planet into a daycare?
No, it looks like all the staff are still grown-ups.
I could sense an unsavory presence at Kami's lookout.
I'll go see what's up.
There's nothing to fear, kids. Earth's mightiest superhero, Mr. Satan, is on the...
Dragon Ball Daima, next Saturday at 12:30 a.m. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
I intend to crush your flesh, blood, soul, and sword until there is nothing left of them!
On the next all-new episode of Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War.
You could try running away, but that would only delay your inevitable death!
Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War, next Saturday at 1 a.m. on Toonami.
Hello everyone! Welcome to a new episode of Toonami Therapy. We're recording on June 12th of 2025. I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
Alright, well, did you hear about the news, the Toonami-related news?
Nope.
Oh, well, you're gonna love this. Guess what series is getting another season? Ninja Kamui.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Wouldn't have been my first choice, but to be fair, there's worse. We could have had more Fooly Cooly sequels. And I'll take another season of Ninja Kamui over another season of Rick and Morty the anime. So, well, they didn't pick the worst one, but yeah, I was not that big a fan of the original Ninja Kamui. But I don't know, maybe they could fix some of the problems with that. I say I'm cautiously pessimistic. Okay. So we can just move right into the coverage of the Toonami series that aired. So we've got Lazarus, episode 10. All right, so they find out that people are starting to suffer from fevers and stuff. So maybe it's proving that all the Hobna killing people is true. So basically I guess the series realizes, oh yeah, we need to give some backstory information for, I can't remember his name offhand, but Leland, I think that was it. Right. So we get some stuff about him and his backstory, and they meet his sister who might have some information. Character actually mentions, yeah, it's possible everyone will die. So, maybe things aren't normal you think we see a little more of that. I'm sorry, I'm editorializing again, but basically they spend some time with her. They get some information. They think they found a possible source of where Skinner is, and we'll see if it's another dead end or not. But then Axel ends up getting attacked by the guy who they set up in the previous episode, who was hired to kill him for some reason. And yep, that was the episode.
Yep. I didn't understand why we needed to have all this family drama whenever we're 7 days away from half the world dying. And it's like, who cares about your family drama, And at one point, she actually says something to that extent. So it was like, okay, so she's in on the joke, but she's still acting as if this family thing actually matters, which it doesn't, and which, if they wanted to do this, they should have done this earlier in this season and not now. But whatever. Yeah, I don't know how they would possibly solve this in 7 days because there's no way you're getting something to the whole world in 7 days time. Even if you got it right now, that wouldn't be possible. So I don't know where this is going. It kind of reminds me of the theory about the Ewoks on Endor at the end of Return of the Jedi, that they all ended up dying anyway because of all the stuff that, the Death Star blew up and all the debris and the radiation and everything ends up killing all the Ewoks anyway after the whole thing is done. So that's kind of what it reminds me of this. It's like, yeah, we're gonna have this big they're gonna find Skinner and get the antidote, but everyone will end up dying anyway, unless they come up with some sort of in-universe, way of preventing it from happening. So, yeah.
You mentioning the question of, well, why are they caring about this family drama when there's disaster around here? Here's a real question: why is someone hiring someone to kill Axel during this? Like, what is the like? Why does someone want to kill someone who might actually save everyone, or are they trying to stop them from saving everyone? I don't know. Maybe that is the goal. I mean, and maybe like the guy who's doing this stuff, I don't know, maybe he doesn't care because maybe he's like, hey man, I never took that medicine. So yeah, you might say, yeah, that's my model. I'm not going to take any medicine if it hasn't been around for at least 20 years to make sure there's no side effects or anything. There was, what was that? What was that one episode of, there's this one episode of The Simpsons where it takes place in the future or something, and you see one of the characters, Ned Flanders, and he's like blind, and he says something, oh, I never should have gone for that newfangled eye surgery. It seems great at first, but then on the 5-year mark, your eyes fall out. So, yeah. I guess we'll see. We've got 3 episodes left. I mean, they say 6 days left. What matters more to me is 3 episodes left.
Yeah. I guess, what, are they going to make a second season of this thing? I don't know.
I mean, I don't think so, but if they were, I don't. If they were, I don't think. I think that I assume they would have resolved everything in this season, and it would be, depending on where it ends, maybe the next. See, maybe they solve everything, and then it said, "Okay, you thought it was all over, but guess what? Hobna 2 Electric Boogaloo is here to cause more problems." Because you did, I don't know where I'm even going with this, but they could always come up with something more for the Lazarus team to do, although anything is going to feel kind of like, I guess, a step down from what they're doing now. Although, like I said, despite the giant stakes of it, it just doesn't, all these just kind of feel like, adventure of the week stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll then move on to Bleach 1000-Year Blood War, Episode 4.
Yeah, so basically, it looks like Ichigo has beaten this guy, and he's off to save the Soul Society, because the Soul Society has been attacked by all these people, these Quincy's, and their thing that they can do now is they don't seal the Bankai, they steal the Bankai. And 4 captains just go off and use their Bankai, which it happens to be like the 4 most easily use their Bankais like right away, and they all get them stolen, and So then they were calling for Ichigo to help, and Ichigo's on his way. And at the last second, the one Quincy who Urahara thought he had killed, he comes back and he traps Ichigo inside something so Ichigo can't save the Soul Society. And that's pretty much where the episode ends.
Okay.
Yeah, I noticed that Mayuri said that um he was trying to tell people not to use their Bankai just in case, because he hadn't yet figured out what their big attack was. But the four captains that did do it are like all the ones who get angry really easily. So that's why maybe it was those four captains who had their Bankai stolen.
Does Byakuya really get angry that easily? He's usually pretty pensive, or at least acts pretty calm. But dang, I'm feeling I can't remember who were the other three who did it again.
Soifun, that's definitely
her,
one.
yeah.
Komamura, and Toshiro Hitsugaya.
Okay, yeah. Now I'm remembering. All right, I could remember Soifun, but that was like the only. I mean, outside of Byakuya, because he got the biggest focus on that. It was so weird for when the commercial for this episode shows, Byakuya like saying, well, we need to use this even if they can seal it. Oh no, they don't seal it. They steal it. And I'm thinking that's kind of a big twist to give away in the commercial. But yes, well, I can understand, they are only one letter apart. Actually, I don't know if the words for steal and seal are anything like each other in Japanese, but it is funny that they are similar in English.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, decent episode. Although I am discovering now, because I watched this, I just kind of binged this, and then before they announced it would be on Toonami, and I'm kind of noticing now, maybe it's because I'm rewatching it, but I'm thinking, I think this is more enjoyable when you go through it kind of more quickly than when you watch it week to week.
Yeah, I agree with that. Watching it once a day is a lot better than watching it once a week. So, yeah.
All right. So we move on to Blue Exorcist, episode 29. All right. So let's see, Rain's doing training and he manages to I make progress with the whole candle training thing. I can't remember in the filler stuff, didn't he get this all done with in one episode? And he's like, "Yep, I've figured it out." And
yeah, I think so.
It's it's taking longer, which I guess makes a little sense, but yeah. So we get some stuff about how one of the characters, whose name I forget because they were introduced, I think 2 episodes ago, was like what was it? Betrayed them by giving the taking the eye, and I'm not going to go through all the whole thing, but she basically was saying, "Yeah, I had reasons for it. I'm not evil." So basically, the big thing that I remember is that I cannot remember anyone's name. Okay, let me see. Ryuji, that was it. Once I saw his name, I remembered it. Ryuji and his father getting into an argument because his father apparently was like maybe into some shady stuff, it seemed, but his father won't explain it, so he gets really angry, and then Reen's like, "No, you guys shouldn't fight because you're family," and all that stuff. Except then when he gets upset, it makes his blue flames appear, and everyone's like, "What?" And then Shura just stops them, and then they move, and that's the episode. I think there's a bunch of stuff in this episode that happened, and I'm having trouble figuring out how to explain all of it.
Yeah, there was a lot of conflict, and then and a lot of fan service too with Shura.
Mm-hmm.
You notice how much fan service they managed to squeeze into this episode.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Her outfit is already kind of normally pretty fan service, but it seemed like they were doing more with this episode than normal.
yeah, and who knows why she wears those clothes? Is there any reason for wearing those clothes except for the obvious answer that we needed a character who, looked like that? I mean, I don't know, but we needed a character who, had big boobs and everything. But whatever. That's part of the show, and there's nothing I can do about it. Um, yeah, this this episode seemed like it had a whole lot of conflict going on, but no one was acting rationally at all. Everyone was acting irrational, and and it just devolved into complete chaos. And I don't know where it goes from here.
My problem is so much of this is involving like conflict among the people who we've known for I think 2 or 3 episodes at this point. It's we got all this stuff, and I still don't remember who so many of these characters are or why they matter, and yet it's suddenly focused on their sort of inter-family beef. So I mean, like I know some of them, like Ryuji. Okay, I know him, and so I can, by extension, know his father and such. But some of the other ones, I just feel like I have so little connection to so far that I'm just confused by all of this, which is why I think my explanations have been kind of weak, because I'm like, well, there was drama and conflict among some characters, but I don't really know who they are exactly. I don't know. Am I just bad at remembering things? That might be it, but
no, you're right. I don't know who most of these characters are either. So, yeah.
Okay. So we've then, let's see. All right, we can move on to One Piece episodes. What episodes were these? Episodes 731 and 732. All right. So, in our previous 2 episodes, people were stalling to try to keep Doflamingo from attacking Luffy so Luffy could recover and beat Doflamingo. Well, they're still doing that. So Luffy does finally get it all back by the end of this episode and decides he's going to fight again. But yeah, essentially it was people stalling and also a bunch of people trying to hold back the bird cage while they were at it. I just have a problem. Doflamingo's birdcage ability seems just so stupidly overpowered when you look at it. Because look, it's this giant thing you can like set up, and apparently even like some of the strongest warriors can't like make any dent in it at all. The only thing you could do really is I guess find you have to fight Doflamingo himself to do it. It just seems like such a weirdly, amazingly powerful ability.
And then he can control pretty much anyone he wants with his, like he controls Rebecca in this episode into almost killing Viola, and until Luffy saves her at the last second. But this episode was like those episodes where they were running from poison gas, because they just kept on showing people pushing the wall, pushing the wall, and pushing the wall, and that was like all the first episode, and half of the second episode was just people pushing the wall, and no one was making any progress on it. Like there was like one time they stopped it for about 10 seconds and they were all celebrating, and then it started going again. So Despite all that, I think One Piece was pretty entertaining this week just because of all the. It was just so ridiculous that it was funny, and I kind of enjoyed it. It was just that ridiculous. So yeah. Um, pedal faster. That's kind of what it was. It was like instead of pedal faster, it was push harder. And all those people lining up to push the wall, and no one could do a thing about it. So, yep, that was One Piece.
Okay. Just to explain to anyone who didn't recognize that was this joke we had when we watched Yowamushi pedal, where it seemed like everyone just wins races. All they have to do is pedal faster, and they come get ahead. Wait, was that even on this podcast, or was it that one we had before this one that we kind of abandoned? It's not available online anymore. If anyone's wondering, we had one like this before that. Was that on that, or was on this podcast? Let me
That's a tough question.
Let me see. Let me just do a quick search. I'm not seeing. Man, it might have been before it, but let me just double check here. Yeah, I think it was. I don't think it was this one. I think it was before we. I think it might have been before this one. So yeah, we'll. That might be the case. So if anyone knows that was just our joke about Yowamushi pedal, the way it's so much of the time people like just got ahead because they just pedaled faster. All right. So we move. Let's see. Was there anything else to say? Okay. I don't have too much else to say about One Piece, really. So. Yeah. Yep, we covered it basically. All right. We move on to the non-Toonami series we checked out. So we've got Yu Yu Hakusho, episode 58. So speaking of jokes we've made, this one is perhaps the biggest example I've seen of a character screaming their way into a power-up. Because that's just it. He unleashes the dragon of the darkness, and then he eats it and gains its power. So he swallows it, and that makes him super strong, and then he wins. And that was basically the episode.
Yep. Yeah, I don't really have much to say on this.
Yeah, I thought it was a kind of weak conclusion to this fight. It's just, okay, well, I get a power up and now I win, and that's kind of it. So yeah, unfortunately, not too much to say about here. There were some like funny bits, with the announcers or the people watching it, but that, with Koenma constantly like thinking, well, if something goes bad, I'm just gonna press this button and get the heck out of here. So, it's a little weird. The best parts of the Dark Tournament seem to be the things that aren't actually the fights themselves.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll then move on to our continued quest of trying to watch the series from the new season. Well, at least the ones that had dubs and are on services we watch, and doing the bracket we've had, except we're not actually necessarily following that strictly, but we're still filling it out because we made this and we're going to milk this, darn it. This May Madness thing that we came up with. So yeah, we'll get to it at the end. We'll advance 4 series, but won't necessarily be the winner of each of their matches. So for this one, though, we'll still approach them and talk about which one we liked more, because it's actually a decent way to facilitate conversation as to what we thought of them. So for this one, let me pull it up and make sure that I'm looking at the right things here. All right, so in this one here, we've got episode 2 of Anne Shirley and episode 2 of Witch Watch. It's kind of interesting because each of these episodes essentially had 3 separate plots in them when you get down to it. So in So, and Shirley, plot one, a neighbor is rude to her, so Anne tells her off, but then has to go apologize and does so in an over-the-top fashion. Plot two, she goes to church, but people think she's weird because she put all these flowers in her hat. And plot three, she meets this other girl and they become friends right away. Okay, so Witch Watch. Plot one, they go to school, but despite trying to keep it under wraps initially, they have to admit to everyone that Nico's a witch and everyone's okay with it. Plot two, Nico makes some friends from school. Plot three, wacky magical shenanigans happen and Moe has to reveal he's an ogre and everyone is okay with it. So, yep, that's those were our episodes. So I guess since it's one, they're going up against each other. Let's see what we each thought. So for me, I thought Anne Shirley was the better one.
Yeah, I pick Witch Watch.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of thought you would.
Yeah. So Witch Watch was the one that made me laugh the most this week. I love the whole thing about where they're sitting there in class and she first makes I forget what's the name of the boy again.
Isn't it Moe?
Okay. Yeah, she makes his hair go crazy, and then she makes his head really big, and then she makes his arm really big, and she keeps missing and where she's trying to hit, and it just is really funny, and yeah, so much of this episode was really funny, and as Rand Shirley, this over the top stuff, it was just irritating to me, like how she does this stupid apology that she obviously doesn't mean, and they kind of just go along with it, and then she just kind of just becomes friends with someone just because they happen to be there, so they're now friends. And yeah, I could not find much about this so that I enjoyed at all. So it was a rather easy pick for me between these two this week.
I actually thought Anne's over the top apology was really funny. I got some laughs out of that. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. Witch Watch had some funny stuff here, but I don't. Honestly, part of the reason is I do want to at least go with Anne Shirley to. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about these. Hang on. Let me just check my phone. I'm hearing that. Okay. Okay. I'll get to that later if anyone heard that little ding. Anyway, now I lost track of what I was saying. Right. I want to at least get into the third episode because there's an apparently iconic part of the series that happens there, and we see that. But yeah, Witch Watch was good. These were both pretty decent series, so this was a kind of harder call for me to pick. But I ultimately thought that I was a little more interested in Anne Shirley, so I ended up picking that. It is also interesting because so much of this dialogue is, I don't know if it's word for word from the book, but it's obviously very close. So there's all this old timey talk, or when, one character says she has a queer way of expressing herself. And I'm thinking, well, that word, queer certainly had different meanings over a century ago than it does now. So yeah. Oh, and yeah, the main characters. It's a Morihito, but I thought it was Moe because that's what Nico always calls him, but I guess that's a nickname or something she had.
I see.
Okay. I will say that in some ways, Witch Watch, especially the first part where they're, at the start of the school, I was thinking, this feels sort of like Full Metal Panic if Kaname was like had the intelligence of Anya from Spy Family, if that makes any sense. Okay. All right. So we'll see how those series end up going, and we'll just leave it there. So the other one is Kowloon Generic Romance and My Hero Academia Vigilantes. So in this one, okay, so Kujirai's basically trying to figure out what's going on with her apparently being the fiance of the other guy, but not having any memory or anything. So she tries to be more like the original version of herself with kind of mixed results. And she and a friend end up going to this place that has like possibly anti-aging products. But then the guy there, for some reason, has like a literal split tongue and acts really creepy. So they leave. My Hero Academia Vigilantes. So Eraserhead and Knuckle Duster fight, but then they realize, wait, there's no reason for us to fight, so they basically go and defeat the villain who shows up instead. Everyone works together to beat them, and then Eraserhead's like, well, I'll see you all in the original series, I guess. And the three main characters of this one decide to kind of be more vigilantes to fight villains, but not officially, which may be sort of illegal. It's not entirely clear, but and yeah, so that was it. Those were the episodes. Okay. So between these two ones, I think I liked Vigilantes more.
I went with Kowloon Generic Romance here.
Yeah, two disagreements.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really enjoyed Kowloon Generic Romance. I'm very interested in what's going on with this whole thing where she has a past life that she doesn't remember and all of this. And now this creepy guy who does the anti-aging thing, that was a interesting plot point, I thought. My Hero Academia, it's actually been better than the original series, I think. I thought it was pretty good. And yeah. That's all I got, really.
Yeah. I thought I enjoyed Vigilantes. Generic Romance is just a bit. I'm just a little kind of confused because okay, so she wants to know what the deal is, but why doesn't she just go and ask the guy, hey, so what's going on? Instead, she just does these sort of roundabout things, like getting earrings to be more like her, or whatever. And I'm just thinking, why don't you ask the guy about what's going on? But just it never does, and that confuses me a bit. Okay. Yeah, it was still always cool that the guy's got a giant quirk. Well, Eraser had just like, well, I've got the anti-quirk ability, and then he just shrinks to normal. So yeah. Oh yeah, I think I didn't mention it. We Knuckle Duster, we find out, yeah, he doesn't actually have a quirk. He's just a really strong guy.
So he's kind of like Mash.
Yeah, though not nearly as over the top as Mash. He's just got like some regular strength stuff, whereas Mash was able to fly around or at least to hover by moving his feet so fast, his legs so fast he would like stick around or something. Okay. All right, so there's one. All right, I guess. See, these were I knew that we might had a good chance of disagreeing on some of these, and this is why I decided let's just have us pick what we're going to do is, in a way, thing that will probably be really confusing to try to explain. We just each picked our top 4 series. We're just going to go through them until we end up with a total of 4, and those will advance. So we'll need at least 2 places. If we from each of us if we all pick different series, and then we'll go down to the third if we get different, if we have some overlap. So yeah, let's go through them because I'm kind of curious as to how you ended up ranking some things. So for me, my number one choice, my favorite of the ones we watched this week and last week combined would be To Be Hero X. I just really enjoyed the series, and it's been my favorite one that I've of the group so far. So how about you?
Kowloon Generic Romance has been my number one. Although, if I'm going from this week alone, I'd probably go with a different one. But overall, combining the first 2 weeks, I picked Kowloon.
Okay. All right. So that's two different ones. So, To Be Hero X was an easy first. The next three were a little harder, but I'll just if because I'm interested in going through the third episode on the podcast at least, I had second for Anne Shirley.
And I had Witch Watch as my second pick. It was probably my favorite. Well, it is my favorite for the week. Second favorite overall. I just found it really funny and really enjoyable. So yeah.
Okay. Well, we have it. We have our four for next week. That was simple.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we might as well go, even if we're not continuing with them, to say not necessarily continuing with them, what our next ones were. My third place was your second place. It was Witch Watch.
My third place was My Hero Academia Vigilantes.
Okay. And that was my fourth place.
Yeah, my fourth place was To Be Hero X.
Okay. All right. So it seems like we both ended up, there was some crossover once we got into the third and fourth place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for next week, we will have episodes 3 of To Be Hero X, Kowloon Generic Romance, and Shirley and Witch Watch, and then we'll pick some number of them, maybe 2, maybe 3. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're gonna pick at least 2. So
yeah,
and we'll see. We're just gonna watch them and then try to figure things out. I had some ideas on how to possibly do it, like maybe drop out our least favorites or just keep our favorites, but we're gonna wing it, man.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I think we can move you into our favorite Toonami and favorite non-Toonami series, although let's see. Well, you already gave away your favorite with your ranking. So
Yeah.
unless let's make sure unless you like Yu Yu Hakusho more than it, did you?
No.
Okay.
Witch Watch was my favorite of the week.
Okay. Yeah. For me, my favorite of the week, I think it would have been and I'm thinking about it. I picked Anne Shirley in second place, but that's not necessarily for this week. Did I like it or Witch Watch more this week? I think I say Anne Shirley beats it out slightly for this week. Okay, so we get that. Even if To Be Hero X beat it, but that was last week. So and for Toonami, well, for me it was again Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War. Is that for you, or did you decide to go for One Piece?
No, I went for One Piece because
Okay.
this episode was so unintentionally funny that I ended up enjoying it the whole time. And I did think they did a good job with building up the suspense to Luffy getting his power back with the announcer guy from the Coliseum, like giving that big long thing about Lucy and everyone getting all excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy, I thought they did a pretty good job with like building up for Luffy to return. So I have to be honest, I enjoyed One Piece more than I enjoyed Bleach this week. I think rewatching Bleach, I'm not enjoying it nearly as much as I did the first time. And I'm just wondering if it's because the plot is so depressing, and it just gets more depressing from here. And I don't know. I mean, they kill off a bunch of characters, and all the characters they kill off are people I like, and they keep around pretty much everyone I hate. So, um, so yeah, I have not been enjoying it this time around nearly as much. My best girl of the week though was Pop Step from My Hero Academia. So there's a win for My Hero Academia there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although unfortunately, yeah, that one's being dropped, but who knows? Maybe they'll put it on Toonami. I mean, out of all these series, it probably has the highest chance of somehow ending up there. Unless,
Yeah,
or maybe,
we were thinking, oh, Bleach. Okay, finally, we're thinking, okay, well, it's definitely not gonna be on Toonami after all these years, so we might as well just watch it ourselves. And then as soon as we did that, then they put it on Toonami.
yeah, yeah. I always did think Bleach had a higher chance just because it's licensed by. It's not licensed by Crunchyroll, which has largely shown kind of reluctance to give its stuff to Adult Swim unless it's all to Toonami, unless it's something that they've already, um, unless it's something that they already aired before. Whereas we've seen more stuff that's licensed by other places. Now, some of the things that were licensed by other people are still put on Crunchyroll. For example, like Dragon Ball, like Dragon Ball Daima, that's on Crunchyroll at last. Yeah, it's on there, but it's they. Oh wait, no, I think Crunchyroll actually did license it, but it's not an exclusive one. Dragon Ball Daima is on like three. It's on Crunchyroll, Netflix, and Hulu. So that's three different ones. I've noticed I've been seeing that a little more with some series where like where they like actually don't go exclusive, they just put it on a bunch of platforms, which of course means you make the way licensing works when it comes to like Hulu, Netflix, or Crunchyroll, or High Dive, or Amazon Video, or I think I covered all the big ones anyway, is they'll give you a lot more money if they get exclusivity, because it's not going to sell subscriptions as well if someone can go anywhere for the series. But so a lot of times people will just license it to one, but sometimes they'll give it to multiple ones. And I don't know if they calculate it out and discover that the less lucrative non-exclusive contract for the licenses still add up to more for them than one exclusive, or maybe it's just a matter of, well, look, we want this as an advertisement for the franchise, so let's put it everywhere so more people see it. Like Witch Watch, that's on Netflix and Crunchyroll, and was it on anything else? I feel like it might have been on Hulu. Let me just see. Yeah, Crunchyroll, Netflix, Hulu. So yeah, a bunch of stuff that and they do that with some other series. So okay, so to get back to the point that I was actually trying to make before I started talking about licensor stuff, it's Bleach's license. It's on Hulu, but it's not licensed by Hulu. It's licensed by Viz Media, who Viz Media is mostly like their main business is publishing comics, but they do handle like dubs licensing for a few anime series. So they have Bleach, and then they just gave it licensed. The licensor licensed it out to Hulu. But they might have given Hulu exclusive streaming rights, but not necessarily TV rights, which is why they went over to Toonami to do it. So that's what made me think that Bleach was more likely than some other series. But who knows? We'll see.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was thinking something and now I can't remember. Oh, right. I did decide to check out the second episode of the Siunji Family Children.
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to see it?
No, no. The only
Well, pretty good that you didn't, because this episode was pretty much all about exploring sexual relations between the main character and his sisters. And
Hmm.
it was like the one girl like tries to come on top of him in bed and uh tries to seduce him and stuff. And then she says, well, I was only doing that to make sure that you wouldn't seduce any of the other girls. So I was just making sure that you weren't going to do that. It was really, I mean, they really went all out with the whole, well, we're not siblings now, so we're allowed to have sex. And they even went into like explanations. It was like, okay, so this is why the Japanese law does not allow siblings to have sex. And they like went into detail on it. It was ridiculous. And the only girl who he doesn't really get into anything sexual is the tennis playing girl. So she's like the only one I really like now, because she isn't falling in love with him like all the other girls are. Like all the other girls are like instantly falling in love with him. And it's like, well, you were sisters with him until what, yesterday, today? And now all of a sudden you're in love with him? And yeah, it's bad. It is not good. I can't watch any more of it. Like halfway through the episode, I was like, great. Now I have to stick it out for the rest of this episode because I have to report on it. But I don't want to. I'm just so uncomfortable watching this that it was just making me squirm. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, I know that they do something similar in Sister Princess, but um, that's a lot different from this, I think. So, um, yeah, only really two of the 12 girls from Sister Princess do anything romantic. The other 10 are just kind of sisters. So, um, yeah, so yeah, CNG Family Children, I'm glad we didn't pick up because yeah, it's icky.
Well, it was up against Witch Watch, so pretty easy decision there.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, yeah, in the bracket that doesn't actually end up mattering at this point, I guess this does mean that by virtue of this stuff, Kowloon Generic Romance, Beach, My Hero Academia, Vigilantes, and then I guess we technically, because To Be Hero X was going to go against a Girl of Gods Go-To Girl, but then advanced and that one didn't, I guess it wins the round that we haven't technically had yet. Okay. I don't want to talk, I shouldn't talk too much about this bracket because the listener cannot see this and they probably are thinking,
Yeah.
oh, well, whatever. But
Mm.
be assured, listeners, if you knew what we were talking about, you would find it highly amusing. Okay. All right. I believe that's everything we've gotten then. So once again, for next week, we've got 4 series to go through. And just one question. I remember, dang, this is something I should have asked you about before. But just to check, I remember you mentioned you weren't going to be able to watch the Toonami stuff live this week, so you'd have to watch it later. But there's a whole bunch of stuff. Do you still want to watch the stuff off Toonami, or do you want to put those on pause or skip over some of the Toonami stuff, maybe? Or are you planning to go with all of it?
I'm gonna do everything as normal. So
Okay.
So we're just we're watching
We've got
the top. So we're watching all the Toonami stuff, and then we're watching Yu Yu Hakusho. We're watching the top 4.
Yeah, to remind the audience, if you're listening, if you're watching along, I don't know if you are, probably not, but just in case, we've got To Be Hero X and Shirley, Witch Watch, and Kowloon Generic Romance.
Okay.
And actually, I should probably have listed those in the order that they were actually ranked. So that would be in the final 4, according to the seeds we had, which were just the My Anime List ratings, we got number 1, To Be Hero X, number 3, Kowloon Generic Romance, number 2, Anne Shirley, and what was Witch Watch? That was number 7. So there you go. I guess my Anime List called it reasonably well, though we also cheated on this bracket, so you know what they say. I don't know what they say, but I'm sure you do. Okay, well, I think that's everything then. We've got all of that, and there's not anything we're forgetting. We gave our top series, and all right. I think that's all of it then. So, everyone, we'll see you next week, and we'll be talking about the premiere of Dragon Ball Daima. And yep, and we'll try to do better that time.
Bye.
When life gets a little hectic, a short stroll can work wonders.
So we stepped into the dark with the Midnight Walk.
You stray into this fever dream as the burnt one.
On a trippy quest to bring light to a world in shadow.
You team up with a little hothead called Potboy.
He's a bit shy at first, but later, he's your best friend.
He'll light your path through 5 tales of terror, all the way to Moon Mountain. If you can keep those hungry monsters from snuffing out his flame.
For the studio who crafted this game, it was clearly a labor of love.
Everything you see was handmade entirely out of clay, then 3D scanned into the game. And it really shines in all its creepy glory.
If you're a fan of stop motion, great storytelling, and artistic quality,
The Midnight Walk is for you.
we give the flat version for the PS5 a 9 out of 10.
The devil's in the details.